Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to the wives of pre-dental students. Maybe your husband is applying right now. Maybe interviews have already started, or maybe you've actually gotten the acceptance letter already and you're trying to decide whether or not you're super excited or if you're pretending like it's not even happening. That's how I was. Like it was really easy just to kind of put it off and just not think about it too much and just focus on the here and now. That season has so many unknowns. Where are we moving? How are we going to pay for this? Am I going to work? I know that putting my husband through dental school, I felt a lot of pressure knowing that a lot of the responsibility for our family and for our finances was going to fall on me. We didn't have kids starting dental school, and so then there's that conversation. Are we going to have kids during school? Are we going to wait? What is life even going to look like in the next 4 years? It's so hard to not even jump further than that and think, what is life going to look like after dental school? Looking back, there are a few things that I wish I would have done before the interviews and the acceptance and before dental school started that I wish I would have done to just set ourselves up for success. First thing is not glamorous at all, but learning to live on a budget. When we were first married, I had just graduated hygiene school, so I had like the adult job. I was working full time, and actually, Braden was working full time and he was still in school. But as like young newlyweds, we were only, 21 years old. It was the most money we had ever had before. But then the drastic change of then going to dental school and having the student loans and the tuition and the books and all of those things that we couldn't keep up with. I wish that we had practiced living on a budget or living within our means before we were like forced to because of student loans and whatnot. And it's really not something that we want to hear. We don't want to be told that we need to make a budget, but it really is one of the most helpful things that you can do. So, if you can start just paying attention where your money is going, track your expenses for a few months and figure out what you're actually spending on groceries, eating out, those subscriptions, clothes, travel. Get one of the apps. This is not sponsored, but I personally really like Rocket Money. You guys maybe see ads that it talks, their kind of like big thing is talking about those like hidden subscriptions. And I downloaded the app, put in all my bank account information and whatnot, and found out that I was paying for like two Hulu accounts and just like dumb things like that that just really add up. I have a few apps that I had subscriptions for that I wasn't even using that I just didn't even realize. And so there's so much technology and things like that can just really help you be more intentional about where your money is going. And if you're spending $12 here and there, and then basically all these little expenses are adding up to one giant sum at the end of the month where you're like, where is this money even going? And so just paying attention to your normal spending now while you still have room to adjust, it just helps you figure out what's important to you and helps you build those habits before your income just drastically changes. If you can learn to live on less now, then it won't feel as like quite a shock when dental school starts and your financial situation changes. And you'll also know like what your priorities are, what's really important for you when it comes to spending money, and what are the things that you're okay cutting back on. Maybe you are like eating out is a non-negotiable, like you have to eat out once a week or whatever, or going to the movies or clothes, whatever it is, it's like that thing that you really like to spend money on. But then you find that there's things that you are okay cutting back on, or that maybe you're really good at like cooking from home. And so you can be really frugal with like your groceries and cooking from scratch and whatnot. The best part is this habit of like living frugally and living within your means is not just something that's going to help you in dental school, it's something that's going to help you after. Because then, same thing that I talked about when I graduated hygiene school, you're going to find yourself with an actual real job, and your husband, like, he doesn't have his tuition, you're not living off of student loans or whatever, and you have an actual income. And it can be really hard to not have that mindset that now we're going to just start spending like crazy. So these skills and these habits are things that are just going to help you throughout your entire life. So starting now is just so important and so helpful. The next thing, kind of along the same line, is thinking of ways to build more streams of income. Now, like I mentioned before, I was a dental hygienist. I worked full time. I had my regular, like, 8 to 5 or whatever. And that worked for the first year of dental school. But then we got pregnant with our first child and I wanted to stay home more. And so we had to start to get creative. Like, how were we going to replace that income? And I personally, I worked as a personal assistant from home, just virtually. And I also taught a little baby preschool out of my house 2 mornings a week, helped babysit. I had friends that did photography, cosmetology out of their home. And this will tell you how old I am too, but I had friends that were like teaching English, like at 4 a.m. or whatnot. And I especially feel like since COVID, there's so many virtual positions. So just kind of getting creative. So this doesn't mean that you need to quit your job and start 6 businesses by next Tuesday. I definitely would not recommend that, especially leading to dental school. You don't need to be dealing with an identity crisis on top of that. But it just means that there's these options that are worth exploring that would give you some more flexibility in dental school. Maybe your current work isn't available where you're at, or your husband's schedule is just like changing so constantly that you need that flexibility, or maybe you have children or you are going to have children while he's in dental school. And sometimes like childcare doesn't really make normal work schedule financially worth it. And so just all these reasons, it just maybe you need the flexibility that you're doing something early in the morning, late at night, weekends, during nap time, things like that. I think the biggest thing is when you have more than one stream of income, you're just giving yourself choices. My husband, he sold things online. He would get stuff in auctions and then resell them on eBay. And that was really helpful just to have just another source of income. And how that kind of ties to budgeting, for me, it's really hard for me to be like, I need to live off of X amount of dollars. And so, what made more sense for my brain was kind of tracking what was comfortable to us, where we felt like we could still have fun, and then being like, oh, okay, so I need to make X amount of dollars. And so then, like, reverse engineering it. So I'm like, if I need to make this much, this is how much I make as a dental hygienist. This is how much I bring in with my preschool. This is how much I bring in with my personal assisting job and Braden's eBay. So then that's how we built our budget. So that's why I think it's really important to just like have that flexibility. And dental school doesn't wait for you to feel ready. There's the exams, the lab work, the clinic requirements, the early mornings, and definitely late nights with studying. And a lot of time, like that mental energy that's going towards school, or for you as the spouse, going towards like supporting your family and the finances. And so the last piece of advice that I have is starting now to creating those like non negotiables in your marriage. And it really helps to create those routines and those consistent things that you can rely on before you're just like in the thick of it, right? For us, having an at home date was really important. And for us, we had rules kind of around our at home dates. We would take turns planning them every other week. And the rule was it couldn't just be like, we're just like going to turn on TV or something. Now, if there was like a movie that came out and it's finally on Netflix or something, we're really excited about it, or we heard about a new TV series that we wanted to watch, that's different. But it just couldn't just be something that just, we're turning on The Office for the 100th time. We had so much fun with this, and it was really fun to plan things that we were excited about, but then also things that we knew that each other would be excited for. So we made like a healthy recipe. There was one point where we were really big into clean, simple eats. We were trying, I think it was like avocado brownies or something like that. And then my husband had this slow motion camera. And so we took slow motion videos of balloons exploding and stuff. And this is all like after the kids go to bed. We didn't have to pay for a babysitter. Most of these things are like free or really cheap and can fit into your budget. We did on YouTube, we found like a swing dance instructional video. So we learned some dance moves in our family room. We did a paint night where we like followed along and like painted a picture. It was so fun. And then we even took pictures. I'll have to like look back and see if I can find some of these pictures, but took pictures of everything that we did. And it was so fun to be able to compile them and be like, look at all these fun dates that we had. And a lot of them were really inexpensive. And so For us, that's something that's been really important, just having that time to connect. And it looks different in different stages of life, but it's just something that's just been that consistent thing that we can always depend on. Maybe it's like reading scriptures together or saying prayers before you go to bed as a couple. Something else that has helped us is kind of having our weekly reset where we're going to come together. We're going to discuss the upcoming week, make plans. What are the priorities? Talk about things that went well the week before. And I feel like that honestly, that habit just from early on in our marriage has really helped us as it's evolved in the different stages of life. But now with owning multiple businesses and things like that, it's just really helpful to get in sync and even like meal planning and meal prepping and getting caught up on laundry, all those things, just kind of being a team with that is just really helpful. And these little routines can just really become like an anchor during these really demanding seasons, right? It's not going to prevent stress or disagreements because at the end of the day, we're still two humans that are just trying to manage the school and the money and family and stress. But it just gives us a way to keep coming back to each other instead of just communicating about the logistics, like the schedules and the bills. And when I think about preparing for dental school now, it's not just about studying for the DAT and applications and your personal statement and things like that. I think it's really thinking about the kind of life that you're wanting to build while all of this is happening. And I know learning how to handle money, figuring out what kind of work fits with your family, and building those habits in your marriage that can carry you through dental school, dental office ownership, children, and all the other seasons that come after it. These aren't necessarily big, glamorous, complicated things, but they really are important because something else is dental school doesn't teach you these things. And sometimes even just the stress of dental school can expose those areas that you've never had time to really think through before. And so starting now just gives you a chance to make those decisions with a little more intentionality and a lot less pressure. So before I wrap up, I do want to give one shameless plug because this is exactly why I created the Dental Wife Crash Course. If you already know that you may want to be involved in the practice someday, but you just have no clue what that means, this course gives you a place to start. It covers the business side of dentistry, finding your role, building the confidence, understanding systems, and supporting your husband without it feeling like you've been dropped into a job that you never applied for. And it's the kind of foundation that I wish that I had before we owned a practice when I was just trying to figure things out in real time and hoping that I wasn't messing things up too badly. You don't need to know exactly how you want to be involved yet, but you may end up working in the practice every day. You might be helping from home, or you might choose something very specific that fits your strengths. And the goal is simply just to help you kind of understand what your options are and help you kind of figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are before you're just like standing in the middle of it. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to be involved in the practice, but then I found myself in like real time just trying to figure things out and kind of scrambling and just hoping that I wasn't messing things up too badly, which is what inspired me to create this course. Anyway, thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
Thank you for spending this time with us on Dental Wife Life. If today's episode encouraged you, challenged you, or made you feel a little less alone, share it with another dental wife who needs it. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social media so that we can keep the conversation going. You can find us on Instagram at The Dental Wife Life. Remember, your role matters, your voice matters, and you don't have to navigate this journey alone. We'll see you next time.